Hey everyone, this is Daryl from Toronto, and this video is for assignment number 2 of Introduction to Music Production at Coursera.org. For this assignment, I've chosen to demonstrate how to prepare a project in Adobe Audition. This particular version of Audition is version 3.0, and when I open the application, I'm dropped directly into the multi-track view. Before I can start playing with any of these settings, however, I want to go to the Edit menu and down to Audio Hardware Setup. I want to do this because I want to make sure, number one, that the audio driver is set correctly. By default, it's set to the Audition sound, but I want to choose a driver associated with my M Audio Mobile Pre USB audio device. This ASIO driver, or Audio Stream Input-Output driver, allows Audition to control and communicate to my audio interface directly. The driver properties section here shows you the sample rate of 48,000 Hz and the buffer size of 128 samples. If I want to change that, I just press the control panel button and it'll actually pop up the proprietary driver interface for my particular Mobile Pre USB audio interface. This allows me to set my levels. I have a latency slider here. The bottom is 128. I believe default is 256, and it tells you that if there's unwanted line noise, just increase the latency. And sample rate is set to 44,100 by default, but I popped it over to 48,000 as per the class video. Below that is your input and output port section. It just shows you that there is a stereo port, which is a combination of the two mono ports for the output, and the input. It shows you your line in, your line 2 mono, and they combine them into a stereo input. And that's what I'm using as my default is the stereo input, because I have a line 6 pod and I have stereo output from that device. Now, to make sure your bit depth is set correctly, you want to go back to the Edit menu and down to Preferences. I'm not sure why they hid this in here, but they did. It just shows you that the defaults for recording bit depths, you get options of 16-bit or 32-bit. There's no 24 here like there is in the class video, so I just set it to 32. Now, to start a session, I normally just arm the first track. And this is going to bring up the Session Properties window, and it's going to ask me about naming the session. I've already gone ahead and created a folder for assignment number 2 here. I had some foresight because I knew I would be recording something. So if you're going to be recording a track or an album, it's a good idea to go in and set up your folder structure so that you know how you want everything organized. You want to give this a meaningful name. The sessions, you can have multiple sessions with the same tracks if you want to do remixes, and etc. So you don't want to just leave them as untitled 2. You want to call this, for example, assignment 2 default. And this will just mean that this is the default session associated with assignment number 2. So I hit the save button, and I'm pretty much ready to go now. I don't have anything attached to my particular inputs on my Mobile Pre right now because I've got everything unplugged. So when I hit the record button, nothing is going to happen here. But it's good to know that on each particular track, you can set up where you want your source coming from. This is for your input, and where you want it to go to. If you want to push it out to a bus, you can do it here. If you want to push it to the stereo, if you want to push it to the mono tracks, or you can actually get into the audio hardware setup here as well. But before you do anything at all, you want to give this track a meaningful name as well. For example, let's call this assignment 1 silence, because there's nothing associated with it right now. And this, when I hit the record button, bam, is going to show me assignment 1 silence 001. And the more times that I stop and record, it's going to increment that 2 in that 1. Now, by default, Audition is going to record in waves, which is your PCM Windows wave file, and that's the same as the broadcast wave standard. If you want to change that, though, you can change it by saving it as a different type, but you're probably not going to want to do that unless you're doing MP3s, but you're going to want to do that with a funnel mix. So I hope this was helpful in helping you set up your project in Adobe Audition 3, and I appreciate you taking the time to watch this and for taking the time to review it. Take care.